Hi everybody, it's me, it's Dr. Kestler from Lorain County Community College, and today's co-video, it's March 12th. Welcome to today's co-video. First of all, my temperature is 97.0 Fahrenheit, so 36.1, so potentially it is okay. I feel pretty well. I have no fever. I feel generally pretty good, and I believe I have a little bit of allergies, but I'm thinking if I need to go to the store today, I could go to the store today. First of all, I want to talk about numbers. Numbers seem to be a very big, interesting thing for the internet these days, and I will tell you that I almost guarantee you that there are more people infected with COVID-19 virus, SARS-CoV-2, than are being reported. I guarantee it. The Centers for Disease Control actually agrees with me because they just put this paper out, and their estimates, just because Centers for Disease Control, I tell you, checks everything. They know how many people die all the time, every year. And so they're looking at what's going on in New York City, and they look at not only confirmed cases but probable cases. And there's some debate about this probable case business. Basically, if you don't have enough tests, we don't have enough tests. If we don't have enough tests, then you basically make an assumption when people have disease or have deaths. This is associated deaths on this particular study, and so that is even that is probably an underestimate, because you've got other kinds of things that occur as well. One of the big things, by the way, in HIV disease years ago, is we always had this issue of you don't actually die from HIV disease, you die from a complication associated with HIV disease, and that skews the numbers. So there were, but you can tell looking back, I mean, the truth always comes out. Looking back, you can see that there were an awful lot of young cases of pneumonia, for instance, in the early 80s. And we now are fairly certain, especially when you go out and look at prevalence data, that that those cases are associated with HIV disease. All right. I want to talk about something else. This was a paper that was just recently published in the Journal of Virology, or it's not quite yet published. It's been accepted. But this is a group of people out in Arizona, and they were just looking for virus like everybody else. And they actually decided to do a deep sequence, which means they got the complete sequence of the viral isolates that they were working with. And they found something interesting, and that is an 81 base nucleotide, an 81 nucleotide base deletion. And 81 is a very important number for those of us in biology because it is divisible by 3. And when a number is divisible by 3, it means that that deletion, that particular kind of mutation, is in frame. So it doesn't terribly distort the gene. At any rate, this gene looks like it's fairly important in the infectivity of this virus, or at least its cousin SARS-CoV-1, the original SARS virus from 2003, and so this looks like it might be important. And they only looked at, you can see here, they've looked at 5 isolates, and they found the deletion is the second lane over. This is something my students are very familiar with, and that this is in panel C, you're looking at a genetic detection by polymerase chain reaction. That's code. They'll know what this is, and you can see that there is a smaller band than in all the other 3. It turns out that ORF7, by analogy to SARS-1, is an important gene with infectivity, and that maybe, just maybe, this is a naturally occurring attenuated virus, which attenuated means wimpified. Attenuated means that it's not quite as deadly. And I know from my work, I know from Edward Jenner's work, I know from Salk and Sabin's work that a naturally attenuated or an attenuated virus could be potentially used as a vaccine. That's a long ways off. But my students, I just want to give my students a message here, my research students, that we might be interested in looking for this particular isolate in the future. And so I'll send you the details about this and later on this week. All right. One other thing, and this also has to do with testing, is, as I said, there are a lot of cases we missed, we didn't know about, and this shows that at least January were the first cases, not March. January were the first cases of COVID-19 in Ohio. There were some cases, and this was done by the antibody test. I know this was reported by Dr. Acton yesterday, and I know that they are right now looking to see if there are more of these cases out there, and what the timing is for those cases, and that is work that's ongoing right now. That study is going on right now, and I'll let you know. Today, the 12th, is a very special day, and it is to a large extent going to be a success or a failure based on you. One of the things that has been a really wild card in this whole pandemic. The whole pandemic has been the fact of human behavior, and it is difficult to interpret what human behavior is going to be, how people behave. And I'll tell you this, just from very simple, your behavior will determine how successful this reopening is. I know everybody doesn't like to wear a face mask, and I'm not going to get into that discussion right now, but you're not really wearing it for yourself, you're wearing it for other people. And if I walk into a store, like one of these fine stores here listed in this picture here, and I see you're not wearing a mask, I might feel a little uncomfortable about how everything is going in that store. Is that a safe store? In other words, is that a good store to go to? And I think you want to give the consumer a good reputation. So an unintended consequence of your exercising your civil liberties of not wearing a mask is that you will possibly hurt business for that person. And so you should look like this, and that's a picture of my wife and myself, and that's the way you should look with a mask on when you go into a store. That gives people confidence that that store is looking out for you. If you walk in, it shows respect. It shows respect for other people, and I think that's a good thing. That'll make us all helpers, and that is going to be how we determine whether this is going to be a successful opening or an unsuccessful opening. And I'll stop right there, and be good to each other, and may you persist like a lentivirus.